For our next story, I have a question. Have you been to a toy store recently? Think about the last toy you bought. It could be anything really, a stuffed toy, a remote control car, a doll, an action figure, a board game, anything. Did you see where that toy was made? Chances are it was made in China. Most toys are. But have you ever wondered why? Why does China have a monopoly on toy manufacturing? After all, most toys are not complicated, not like electronic gadgets. So they should be easier to make. Plus, there's a huge market for toys. So surely, there are more manufacturers in the world. But for some reason, most of the toys we buy come from China. And this is set to change because toy makers are looking for a shift now. I'm talking about big names like Hasbro and Mattel. Hasbro is famous for its Monopoly board game. Mattel makes the Barbie doll. They make some of their toys in India. Now they want to expand. So what's holding them back? To understand that, we must understand the business of toys. Manufacturing is dominated by China. It is the biggest toy maker in the world. More than 70%, 70% of the world's toys are made in China. And what is China's share in exports? 56%. So more than half of the toys made in China are sent overseas, mostly to the West. Let me show you some more numbers. These are from 2023, from January to September. We'll start with the US. 79% of toys sold in America were Chinese. It's as if the rest of the world just stopped making toys. All the manufacturing went to China. The reasons are well known. China was cheap, it had a large capacity, so factories could churn out more toys in less time. But the pandemic changed this. In 2020, when Chinese factories went offline because of the Wuhan virus, the toy makers struggled. China became less appealing for them. And they already had issues with Chinese toys, like poor quality. In fact, in 2007, there was a scandal. Mattel recalled 19 million toys. They were tainted with lead. We're talking about dolls, action figures, and cars. In 2018, Hasbro had a realization. Their annual report said this, that the company was too dependent on China. They called it an operational risk. So toy companies were looking to move. The pandemic proved to be a catalyst. That's when they actively started looking for alternatives, and India emerged as a good option. The reasons are obvious. India has a large working population, stable government policies, and connectivity with key markets. Plus, India has a unique advantage, the cost of labor. It is cheaper than China. Let me show you a comparison of salaries. In China, factory workers are paid between $198 to $376 a month. In India, it's between $108 and $180 a month. Global companies find it appealing. So they reached out to India. Last year, 82 companies showed interest. But the progress has been slow. And the biggest roadblock is capacity. India doesn't have enough factories. Going by one claim, there are just about 4,000 production units today. Say a company wants to move manufacturing to India, it can take two routes. Find a contractor or build its own factory. Now, using a contractor is simpler, but it can take up to 18 months for a company to find one. What about building your factory? It could take up to 3 years. So either way, you need more than 1 year to start making toys in India, and these timelines need to be shorter. That's the first challenge. The second roadblock is infrastructure. Companies need warehouses and last mile connectivity. India has been trying to solve these problems by building domestic manufacturing capacity and creating incentives. India made the first move in 2020. Import duties on toys were raised. Earlier it used to be 20%, now it is 70%. So importing toys in India makes little sense now. There is a 70% import duty. Second, India is setting up multiple production clusters. In 2021, 8 of them were approved. In 5 states, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Here, toy makers are getting subsidies in the form of rent concessions, power tariffs and freight subsidy. So the market is witnessing a turnaround. From 2016 to 2020, China accounted for 86% of India's toy imports, 86%. By 2023, toy imports fell by 53%. And toy exports from India jumped by 239%. So there are more Indian toys in the market. The next step is to take them overseas. Do you know what is the current global share of Indian toys? Just 1%. But we say India is well placed to change that.